Good evening. The role of Brian Cox will be played by understudy Tim Lappin.
Please silence your phones.
So I'm running late for a rehearsal of some kind for a Shakespeare production. And it's in a rehearsal space in the steeple of a cathedral where I went to school at Trinity College. I didn't know which scene we were rehearsing from this thing or whatever play we were even doing. And when I got to the rehearsal space in the steeple, the rest of the cast was already in their seats, are fidgeting with their scripts, and they all looked annoyed, and they didn't really have faces, but they were making me feel really nervous. And it seemed they were all waiting on me for something. Monty was there, and she looked worried for me. It was clear that whatever was going on in this thing was my fault. So everyone is facing Brian Cox. Brian Cox, the actor, not the British physicist. And he was like the director or maybe the lead actor of whatever production this was. I couldn't tell which, but he was really being hostile, like palpably hostile, huffing and puffing about something. And he seemed to be ignoring me, like intentionally ignoring me, and he refused to start rehearsal, so we just all sat there in silence. So I figured I'd start looking through the loose pages of my script, which were totally out of order, and even weirder, each page wanted to roll back into a cylinder for some reason. So I gather enough courage to address everybody, and I'm like, "Excuse me, but are you all waiting on me? Am I supposed to be doing something here?" Brian Cox laughs a very sarcastic laugh, and then I just went right at him.
You know what, Brian? I'm sick of how you treat me. I'm doing the best I can, and this is hard. No one is telling me what scene we're rehearsing, so how am I supposed to do this?
Well, maybe if you...
Rehearse my lines?
Obviously by now you should have been
Off book. Yeah, no shit, you pompous ass. Like I don't know how theater works. Look, my mother died a month ago. Did you know that? A month ago. I took this part because I thought it might be helpful to think about anything other than what I'm thinking about right now!
This is good, Gay. Finally some real red-blooded emotion. Have you seriously not considered using this? Use it, Gay. Use this. Use this. Use this. Use this.
Everyone was standing now and quiet, and they were all holding hands in a semicircle. And then a nice gray-haired lady started speaking about my mother. My sister Lily appeared on my right. I told her with my eyes, or maybe telepathically,
I was channeling you by standing up for myself to Brian Cox.
and she nodded, telepathically. And then I opened my eyes in my bedroom. I saw a sliver of light slipping through the curtains, and I looked at the clock on Monty's night table, 7:58. She was still asleep. But the memories of being in that same steeple rehearsal room with this particular cast rehearsing whatever production we were doing were still really fresh, like this dream's whole reality had lasted months. And despite what felt like it should be a stressful dream, because it was mostly stressful the whole time, I didn't wake up with the same horrendous anxiety I had been experiencing waking up from dreams since my mother died a little over a month prior. Most dreams recently had been ending with my heart beating out of my chest, and I can't fall back to sleep for hours, and I'm devastated all over again by the reality that my mother is gone. But this time, I felt calm and relieved even. I actually felt motivated. I considered just grabbing my script and learning lines right there in bed. Now, where'd I leave that thing?
Hello and welcome to Post-Fugue Analysis Dream Edition.
I'm your host, Gabriel Bears, and I'm thrilled to welcome our inner therapist of 47 years, Dr. Hans Zimmerman. We're here from the couch. Dr. Zimmerman, welcome.
Hello. Who are you talking to? You're in my office. No other people are here.
I'm here.
Who is this?
I should have mentioned, that's my inner voice. Sorry, can he be here?
I suppose, though this is highly unorthodox.
I'll try to keep him on a tight leash. You hear that, dude? Don't be an asshole. I will have you muted.
Good luck with that.
So, Dr. Zimmerman, as my inner therapist, you're privy to all my memories and dreams. So we were hoping you could shed some light on this dream and maybe dreams in general.
Consciousness is almost... This is an imperfect metaphor. Like a movie your brain is showing you all the time, and it uses elements of your memories as if from an archive.
Pretty sure that's not how memory works.
Bitte, allow me to finish. Elements of your memories are recreated and incorporated into any current scene you're watching, whether in waking life or a dream. This can be observed in these moments from your dream fugue, as you call it.
So I'm running late for a rehearsal of some kind for a Shakespeare production.
And you actually had rehearsals in the steeple at Trinity College, where you attended university, yeah?
Yeah, that's true.
And you learned a monologue from King Lear in 1997.
Didn't have to share the year there, but yeah, Edmund. Now, gods, stand up for bastards.
Please don't.
Okay, you're in timeout.
Aw, come on.
Better.
And then you expressed a small but intriguing detail, the pages of your script.
Each page wanted to roll back into a cylinder for some reason.
We can also confirm that you and your partner, Monty, read a parable, a story about the experience of childbirth.
Yeah, we read a story to each other the night right before this dream.
There are two keys we can observe here. One, you enjoyed this experience, nine?
Yeah, reading it to each other reminded me that I used to enjoy acting.
And two, the story you read hours before this dream. Do you remember the pages?
Of the story we read?
Yeah.
It's kind of goofy, but it was rolled up in a scroll, like a big joint.
You see, dream consciousness plucks memories from decades ago and hours ago and plants them in your dream fugue. Your brain, all brains, are machines that create metaphor. Listen to what happened here.
I didn't know which scene we were rehearsing from this thing, or whatever play we were even doing.
When you confronted Brian Cox, you talked about the stress and grief of your mother dying.
My mother died a month ago. Did you know that? A month ago.
Fascinating, the quite significant detail you left out.
Our child.
Precisely.
This dream happened the day before our daughter Lulu's due date.
So the play is basically the kid, the one he's not prepared for.
Very good, mine asshole.
I like this guy.
The play is the baby. It's also the grief of losing your mother. You're not ready for her to be gone. You probably never will be.
It hasn't even been that long. It still feels like I just haven't seen her in a while. Why would our mind make these metaphors? What's the point?
It's not willfully creating metaphors. It's not composing song lyrics like Robert Dylan.
Bob, Bob Dylan.
Muted.
You did.
Your brain just creates connections based on the way it's wired.
I'm sorry. The way it's wired?
Of course, a certain feeling that is attached to one memory may also stimulate another memory that may seem otherwise unrelated.
Totally. All my fear dreams are about not knowing lines in a theater production.
It is the theme of being unprepared. Also,
Monty was there and she looked worried for me.
your partner, Monty, she's had to do a lot of the research while she was pregnant.
Yeah, she's read like 10 books and has 4 pregnancy apps on her phone.
While you fell behind. You felt guilt about this?
I mean, yeah.
So, panic, grief, and guilt. This was the theater of difficult and unresolved emotions.
So that feeling of being unprepared in waking life stimulated memories and images that resonated with that feeling.
Correct. In waking or dreaming, our minds will always create a narrative to make things coherent.
Hey, has anyone ever told you that you sound like a cross between the Count from Sesame Street and Bjork?
What is a Bjork?
I'm here in the studio with Brian Cox. Brian, what do you think of this production so far?
It needs work.
Okay. Our listeners are asking, in how many dreams do you think Brian Cox has appeared?
237,596,000.
Really? On the nose?
As of today, yes, that is correct.
Please take your seats.
You may be wondering why the cameo appearance from Brian Cox.
It's like you read my mind.
The answer to this is one word: personas. Our representation of important people, real or imagined, in our lives take up a lot of mental real estate. Within the last century, people you would never have otherwise met are now in your life all the time.
Why Brian Cox, though?
In my professional opinion, the version of Brian Cox that appeared in your dream was most likely from the cinematic, the film by Charlie Kaufman called Adaptation.
Yeah, adaptation. I love adaptation.
Brian Cox plays, I believe, a script coach or something to that effect in that movie.
Right?
But in your dream version, he is more an acting coach.
You know, now that you mention it, he kind of looks like my real-life therapist, too.
Based on the architecture of our brain, we simplify things by putting them in compartments. It makes things easy to recall. We categorize information.
So you mean mental shortcuts, like bias?
Correct.
So our brains receive such an astronomical amount of information all the time that it uses bias to make it all manageable. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing. The good side is that it allows us to process information in a more efficient way. And you're applying this to the people in our lives.
Both real and fictional. So, if certain people have similar qualities...
Like physical traits, personality quirks.
Yeah, and if they have a big boisterous laugh, for example, or is it very tall or very short, or if they have gray hair.
Kind of explains those caricature drawings at tourist attractions. Most of us only see and remember the most noticeable aspects of someone's face or character.
Sure. And if I recall, Brian Cox plays Robert McKee in the film adaptation you like so much. And Robert McKee is indeed a real-life writer and script coach.
Yeah, we even attended one of his courses, like in real life.
So, in the context of this dream, there are 3 gray-haired men of authority. Your therapist, Brian Cox, and Robert McKee. Not surprising that your brain basically created a composite, a hybrid character that consists of all 3 of these real-life people.
And given their and maybe even your respective roles as coaches or therapists in this persona bucket, our brain lumped them together as one persona that's not afraid to say what they mean as a character quality.
And this is why Brian Cox was a central character in your dream fugue.
During this next intermission, we invite you to stop by our lobby for refreshments, visit the restrooms, and take a moment to stretch your legs.
God, this feels long. Where's the bathroom? I'm about to explode.
I am starving.
I might enjoy a schnapps.
I doubt they have schnapps.
How much do you think a pack of peanut M&Ms are here?
I bet too much.
Excuse me, how much for the M&Ms?
Those are $12, sir.
Oh, jeez.
It's the theater.
All right, fine.
And for just $23, you get a complimentary Fugues souvenir cup.
Is that including the M&Ms?
No.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, but the cup. It's a Yeti.
Please take your seats.
This next phenomenon does not have a technical title of any kind, but it traverses biology, psychology, music, and many other fields.
Okay. The suspense is killing me.
Imagine a sneeze. There is a very distinct and familiar feeling when you need to sneeze, but it won't quite arrive.
Right, it's torture. Makes you crazy.
But then, once you do, this is heaven.
Sneezing feels so good. Why don't people comment on how much better they feel after a sneeze? Like, hey, nice sneeze. Inner voice, back me up here. You're unmuted.
Oh, sure. Now you want me. Yes, sneezes are satisfying. Happy?
Yes.
And it's not just sneezing. It's omnipresent in biology.
Like when you have to burp, or when you have to pee on a road trip, but there's no rest stops.
The pressure builds up quickly. Your body wants release.
So it's a tension and relief circuit. Makes me think of old school television. Apparently, TV shows only ever existed to sell ads.
Explains cliffhangers.
Yeah, who's the killer?
Find out after a word from our sponsor.
I was just thinking, in music, they call this relationship dissonance and resolution, and it's used to create a story musically.
From my country, everyone from Beethoven to Bach, they are all intrinsically aware that in music, the right amount of tension keeps you interested. Otherwise, it would be boring.
Right, so when a composer or a songwriter uses dissonant chord progressions or melodies, it's almost asking a question. And then later in the piece or song, it answers the question by resolving into a happy, home-like combination of notes and chords.
And when it's dissonant, it makes you feel curious and energized with attention.
And when it resolves, the question is answered.
So it's the resolution that has you feeling calm and content.
Precisely. Let's go back to your dream fugue. It's important to remember that emotions tend to steer the narrative of dreams.
Does it?
Of course, because there is so little input coming in from your senses while you are dreaming. So this so-called physical setting is not stable.
The whole thing is just being generated by your brain. So the metaphoric imagery in dreams is just dictated by your feelings?
Correct. And emotionally, in your waking life, you have gathered a lot of tension and stress between your mother's passing and your baby daughter on her way.
So that specific emotion created a dream version of Brian Cox, which instructed me to
Use it, Kate. Use this.
So my own dream character was basically telling me to decompress my emotions.
To release the valve, to get to the resolved musical chord, as you said.
Or popping the pimple.
Answering the question.
Identifying the murderer.
Completing the sneeze.
Or the burp. We can call it the burp paradigm.
No, it's the completed sneeze. It's the sneeze paradigm.
Lame.
You're lame.
Good one. Control freak.
Fine, but I'm calling it the sneeze paradigm.
Peter, can we put your inner voice back in his cage? Gladly. Now, for the most important part.
Most dreams recently had been ending with my heart beating out of my chest, but this time I felt calm and relieved even.
You confronted Brian Cox, and in the dream scenario, you achieved releasing the tension, and he celebrated you for it.
This reminds me of something my friend Shell told me soon after my mother died. Her own brilliant mother, Carol, passed away a few years ago, and she said it's okay to proactively tell people, my mother just died, and it fucking hurts, and it feels horrible all the time.
And this is most likely the explanation for why you had this dream. You needed to tell us.
I guess you're right. Well, Dr. Zimmerman, you made me understand so much about this dream, which feels pretty crazy seeing as how I made you up myself.
As they say, I'll let you be in my dream if I can be in yours.
As you rise from your seats and follow the exit signs,
you're participating in an experience sleepers have when they wake from a dream, a phenomenon called hypnopompia. Like this theatrical production, a dream reality can linger into your waking life.
This transition sometimes creates a spillover between two realities. Maybe weeks from now you will sneeze and remember that Brian Cox helped a stranger face his grief. And you may ask yourself, where did that come from?
Did I dream it?
This Dream Fugue production is dedicated to the brilliant and beloved Nancy K. Berezin. Fugues is written and produced by Mr. Gabriel Berezin, artwork and logo design by Mr. Justin Montan. Playing the role of Gabe, inner voice, and Dr. Hans Bob Zimmerman is Mr. Gabriel Berezin. Playing the role of Brian Cox is Mr. Tim Lappin. Special thanks to Dr. Robert Berezin for insights based on his book, The Play of Consciousness in the Theater of the Brain, and to Miss Lulu Montan Berezin for her sneeze. In the orchestra pit playing original compositions, Mr. Grant Zubritsky.
And your program announcer is
Miss Monty Montan.